Hello, and welcome to the About Healing podcast, a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys, and who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I am your host, About Healing medium and certified spiritual healer, Sheree Buckman. It is my purpose to guide others to the path of self-healing and to inspire those on their spiritual journeys in finding their truths. Join me as I share my experience and unfiltered perspective in healing, as well as the incredible wisdom of the loving energy that guides us. Let's begin. Well, hello and welcome back, beautiful souls. I'm so excited that you are joining us today for another episode here on About Healing podcast. Of course, I'd love to start out this episode by pulling another card from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle, again, to further extend our self-care this season with our whole wellness topic or genre that we're going into, for all these episodes. So today, the card that I pulled was Nourish Your Temple. Ooh, I like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and again read out of the guidebook here. When you take pride in how you care for your physical temple, you glow. When you nourish your body consistently, tending to it as you would something sacred, others pick up on the radiant light emanating from you. It's often that intangible, positive vibration that people notice and compliment, but don't entirely know how to put their finger on. Tune into your body and ask what would feel nourishing. Sit or lie down and place one hand on your heart and the other on your lower abdomen. Then ask, what do you need today? You may find that your body calls for you to eat healthy food or for a movement practice, even if it's just simple stretching. There may be a beauty treatment that comes to mind, like a body scrub or mask, or maybe your body wants to be adorned with the jewelry you save for special occasions or with a new lip color. Let your intuition and the signals of your physical being guide you in the right direction to nourish yourself on all levels. And to continue with this topic or this card this week as a journal prompt, what is your body calling for? And what can you do to nourish it more? The further that I read that and got into our card this week, I am blown away by, again, this is so divinely drawn for our topic today because this is just that positive spin on what I want to talk about. The topic today is about our self-image. Our perceived self-image is a product of our whole self-wellness. It is tied to all the levels of self, as we spoke about in that first episode, which is the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. This is honestly a topic that has been coming up a lot lately for myself. It's something that my attention has been drawn to not only for myself, but actually for a lot of people around me. We've been having a lot of these conversations. And our self-image is so important when we're talking about our whole self-wellness, about our self-care and everything else. This is also a huge product in, especially for this month, as I am drawing attention to February as self-love month, because this is a piece that we have to look at. It's also a part of us that usually needs a huge amount of healing. And sometimes we don't recognize it. And so I kind of want to put attention on it today on how we perceive ourselves. How do we feel about our own self-image? How do you see yourself in this world? Because right now I can probably just about guarantee that your perception of yourself is very different than those around you. Because I know not only for myself, but even people that I love very dearly and people that I'm connected with all the time, I know that their self-image absolutely does not reflect how I see them personally. Because again, we are our own worst enemies. And if we are not paying attention to that, what we feel about ourselves, it starts to generate outward People feel it. Again, it was just like what that card today was talking about, and how when we can stay in that positive light and we nourish ourselves, people can feel it. It's that energy, that flow. Well, it kind of goes in reverse too, that if you're not feeling in it and we're not nourishing ourselves in some way, and not just, by food or anything else, but by thought, by physical activity, by the whole spectrum, right, of our whole self wellness, we are projecting something heavier. Our self image is based on beliefs and the perceptions that we have about the world around us and ourselves. We create it, and it's bound to our life experiences and expectations from those of our family and how we were raised, by society, by religion, by the gender norms, quote unquote, because I hate that word normal, and our trauma. Absolutely. These are all this complete package that creates these thoughts and how we perceive ourselves. My own self-image is something that I have struggled with for a very long time. I have worked on it intentionally for years in rewiring and digging deep to the core beliefs that created them in the first place. And this is what I want to talk about today. And it is also about my journey and what I've learned and the questions you ask and how do we do this? Because one of my own personal examples here, you guys have heard it in previous episodes, especially back in the first season when I told you about my journey, is that when I was younger, I didn't like feeling different. I had red hair, I was chubby, I had freckles, and I was always, always, always the new girl. So, of course, I did everything I could to blend in and to fit in. And actually, it is what we are hardwired to do for survival, right? Is to blend in. Uh, and we do that, honestly. It's like that hard wiring in our human system. And it's kind of over, we've talked about it, those caveman days I've brought in, and what we do for our survival, because we do this to hide from the predators. While we don't have the predators like we used to way back in the day in the beginning of mankind, they are different this today, which are, we're trying to hide from those who would tease or bully or treat us differently, or maybe exile us from that cave, sort of speak. So, I personally learned to adapt quickly. And that was kind of in my survival mode of how I used to live, especially being so young. That is how I adapted, by dressing similarly to everybody else and using the popular speech or the slang or intimidating those people around me. And again, as an empath and a people pleaser, you guys all heard this in the empath episode last season, I adjusted my vibrations and my energy to please others. That in itself is so draining because I am always recalculating and getting feedback off the energy of others and adjusting myself just to make other people comfortable all the time. It is exhausting. It's exhausting. And every time I did more adjusting, or every time I tried to fit in more and more, I was losing more and more of myself in that because I was doing things for different reasons. So, as we go further in this episode, I am going to give you a few of my own personal examples in self image and how I'm going around it. But I also want you to understand that this actual, like, our perceptions of self image is very broad. And you can use these in any of the items or those categories that you think of yourself in different ways, right? Or how you perceive yourselves, whether it is that personality part of yourself and how do we adjust it, or how you talk or speak to other people, or how you're heard, right? Or how you look, or how you appeal to others, and how much money that you have, or how long you look, or what you give, or how you give and receive, or how thin, or how smart, or how kind you are, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are just some of those examples of the ways that we are judging ourselves or perceive ourselves in our image, or we're adjusting for other people to see.
Hello, everyone. This is Rachel from the About Healing team, and I'm here today to tell you about a self-love box that we are offering this month on the About Healing shop. This box is full of all the items we need to learn to love ourselves. A QR code to a guided self-love meditation by Sheree that is only available in this box. The box is so full of crystals and sage and so many other wonderful things. You're going to have to go on to the About Healing website and look for yourself how amazing this box is. The box is selling this month only for the amount of $22.22, and that includes free shipping. Order your self-love box today.
So, let me share with you what I've learned over this time and how I have been working on myself and how I perceive myself in that self image. And along with anything, especially with healing, that first step is awareness, because that is how we begin changing and healing ourselves. By becoming aware of these warped or negative image traits that we project on ourselves, this is when we can start to understand and see, because I mentioned it just a couple of moments ago, about how our energy flows outward, right? So while we are thinking of that and becoming aware of that, and if we keep these warped and negative image traits of ourselves, we are also perpetuating this cycle outward. Right? So remember that our children and everyone around us, they learn by watching what and how we manage ourselves or what we do or how we right deal with the world. This is why this is also important, because it's important, number one, for ourselves, again, from switching out of that survival into that thriving, and to take care of ourselves better and to love ourselves deeper and to have more of that compassion for ourselves. Well, and I've mentioned it over and over again, the more we do that for ourselves is the more that we are changing the world around us. This is us also bringing in that healing for everyone that surrounds us, because the more that we can go in and do this work, we are creating that better, more positive energy around us. Again, people want to know, how are you doing it? They see that and then they're learning by that. I want to kind of give you an example, or this is something about part of my own personal physical wellness journey, just to bring this into this awareness of what this as an example of what this means. So I work out and have been working out 3 to 5 days a week for over a year now. Okay. I do strength training. So it's a lot of weights. And for the last 4 months, I've done it with a trainer. So when I started and even to now, my goal has is not numbers. I'm not looking to be a certain size or a certain weight, but it's a feeling, because I have spent years and years working on my other internal wellness, right? I've been working on my mental and my emotional and my spiritual health. Well, now I've been putting a lot of effort and intention on my physical health. Well, what's interesting here is that even no matter how long I've been doing this and what my awareness is, right? That there is still a battle I am battling while doing this and still working out and getting and feeling amazing in this physical part of myself. Because I find myself looking at the scale. Now, I've gotten way better, but especially in the beginning, I would still find myself on the scale and I'd be questioning my efforts because I'm looking for the number results. So, two things occurred to me during this, and the more that I kept doing that. Number one, I had to tell myself, first of all, your strength training, Sheree, you're building muscle. Stay away from this scale. Muscle is heavier. Okay, so there's that. But the second most important piece was that I became aware of my perception of what healthy was, and that it was still jaded by the numbers game. There it was. I became aware that I was still looking at that. This brings me really into this little story that happened very, very recently, and it threw me in this game. It was a big lesson, and honestly, I'm grateful for it. But in the moment, it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good when we go through these lessons, these tough life lessons, these triggers. But recently, I was looking at a photo that it was like a photo just taken of me last month, and I saw this photo, and I couldn't believe it. Immediately, I looked at this photo of myself, and full judgment on myself, because I looked bigger than I felt. I couldn't believe what I saw, because I thought I would look thinner because that's how I felt. You guys, let that sink in for a minute. I was judging myself for not looking the way that I was feeling. Like, that brings so much emotion up right now. I can almost feel the tears in the back of my eyes here. That right there, through this huge awareness of the perception of what I feel that beauty or health looks like, right? That awareness. Okay, so let's go into the next step that I had to dig deep in here. Okay. And this is the next step that you would do for your own perception. And for every perception, you should be looking at all of this. You have your awareness, and the next one is the whys. The whys. Okay. Why did I think this way? Why was I giving myself a hard time? Why did I disregard all my work and how amazing I felt by this one image? And this is what I came up with. For me, and I'm being honest here, like I had to dig deep into this. And for me, it's part of it was that's what I've been taught, right? This is what we're taught. Or how we've learned, or I should say this is how I learned from the world around me, for me personally. So I was brought up in a household of thin women, right? I have two younger sisters and my mom, and it was the four of us girls. And the three of them are all very naturally thin. Apparently, that gene skipped me. I don't have that. And I have to, we could eat the same foods, but it shows up very differently on us, or the way that the activity we put out and things like that. I actually wrapped my head around that a long time ago. But there's still a piece of me that still sees and feels that, and that I'm still looking. But if I work really, really hard, like I have been, I can be maybe as thin as them, or I can look really well. Well, guess what? That was another question I had to go in deeper and start asking. But why? But why is it that I want to look so thin? Why is it that image is still stuck in my head? A part of that too is that I've been surrounded by people who put emphasis on how thin you look rather than how amazing you feel. Actually, I feel like this is a huge part, like this is a societal piece. And this is something that I'm really hoping that, by talking about it, we can bring this little change in there, that change in society. And honestly, it starts with every single one of us. Because the more that we can bring into feeling more amazing and changing this perception for ourselves, the more that we get to bring it out into the world. Because I went back home recently because I lost a loved one and went out there for the funeral. And when I was out there, I had this experience with a family member who we went out to this big like family meal. We ran into them and immediately like this person was looking at my sister and was giving her the compliments like how thin she looked. She looked amazing. And wow, yes, my sister does. Always. But she wasn't like working towards it or looking for the compliment necessarily. And I just remember thinking in that moment, like, you guys, like, I do strength training for like 6 hours a week. I am lifting weights, I am eating better, I'm doing all these things, and no one noticed like this energy that I'm giving, and I feel amazing. And I wasn't getting the compliments, like, you look great. Again, it's something that hit me with, yeah, this is that perception, and this just fueled the fire of everything that I was feeling. Let me reiterate, right, or not reiterate, let me just say right here that for this person to compliment, my sister or not give me a compliment, this is not a bad thing, really, in general, because this is just kind of the way society has worked. This is how this person understands it themselves. And so I just wanted to put emphasis that, it's not bad. So then it makes you go in further. And so why I had to ask myself all those whys. I had to keep digging myself. Why did I feel this way? Why do I feel that it to be beautiful or to be complimented and how thin or great I look defined the work that I did because I feel amazing, right? No matter what it is that you're working on that perception, I want you to keep digging. This was the part. Keep digging and asking your questions of where it's coming from. Because for me, yes, I have to change this perception of what I feel or think a beauty is, or what being healthy is. So this is something that I have to do. But for whatever it is for you, what are the false beliefs that you carry about your self image? Break them apart and for each one. Because we have more than one. I know I have tons of them. I'm just giving you some of the big pieces or the ones of my self image that I've been currently working on. What drives you to change your looks? Whether you get Botox, or whether you color your hair, or you buy expensive items to feel better and show it off, or whatever it is. Why? Ask yourself why. Why is it? Does it make you feel good, or do you do it because you want to look a certain way because you want to be accepted into the pack? That's a big difference. Because if you feel good in it and it's just for you and not anybody else, if it's for you, and you're not going for compliments or the validation or whatever it is by doing whatever you're doing, then that's good. That's amazing. You're doing it for you. But if you're digging deeper and you keep asking the questions, and you have to be honest with yourself here, are you doing it again for outside reasons? Because that is the expectation. Because if I look this way, then I'll be accepted. Or if I look this way, I want the compliments because it'll help boost my self-esteem, or, so on and so forth. And you know what? I came up with this why too. That I think this was important. Why do you do things you actually hate? How many of you do things that you absolutely hate to do only because the perception, you want to be perceived in a certain way, has become a part of your self-image? Do you pretend to like sports just so you can fit into like conversations and things like that? I put this in here because that used to be me. I used to pretend to like sports with my husband. I love him, and it was a way to find this connecting, but and it was fun to a point, like, until I had kids and the energy was gone. I'm like, "Dude, I don't have energy to put into pretending this. I really don't care at all. I love you, enjoy it, but that's not mine." Came to it, I felt so much better. Whew, I let that go. But also, like, why? But why do you like, whether you volunteer for every school fundraiser or outside functions, or you're go, 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 go all the time with no breaks or little bit of stopping. Like, why? Why do you do it? Because usually this is tied to a self-image. Do you do it to project something? So now we're going into the third one. We have awareness, we have the whys, and here's the big piece now. So once we can go into those pieces and we can start taking apart and understanding why we have the self-image of ourselves, we can go into rewiring our brain. Okay. It's like reframing, right? We're going to be reframing our thoughts. That's how you rewire, is by reframing our thoughts. You got to go in and find your truths. Okay. That's a whole other episode, season 2. Find your truths. For me, in the example I gave about my self image of me getting healthier, of how I felt and how I looked, I had to now reframe my thought and focus on how I felt, not how others saw me. Because the truth is, I have never in my past, nor will I ever be a small little size and have that. And nor is that the plan or the goal that I want for myself. Because for me personally, that wouldn't be healthy. Okay. For me, that is not part of my body type or the energy I'm willing to give. Right. Because I had to now focus, I am focusing more on the fact that I have never felt more physically healthy than I do right now. I have amazing energy. I feel so strong, you guys. I feel so strong. I have muscles now that I've never had, and I name them. My husband, he rolls his eyes at me, but I name my muscles now. It's pretty awesome. But I am kicking butt in my fitness goals in this, in my physical health. And my goals are not huge. I am eating better because of them, and I am feeling more confident in my own skin. Because before I looked at that picture, I did. I was so confident. I felt amazing because I do. I feel like I'm small. I feel like I'm small. And while I am not the definition or look like other people do in the magazines or anywhere else, I feel amazing. And that is what I want to celebrate. When we get deep into it and you are reframing those thoughts. You got to be kind to yourself and find a new focus. Where is that focus going to be? Because if one of your self-image pieces is about whether it's wealth or your looks or whatever it may be, find the piece that makes you feel good and let just put your focus there. Do that, the feels, because you are not meant to blend in to look, act, sound like, or be like anyone else. You are exactly who you should be. Do you feel amazing but don't fit the social health mold? Hey, then you're doing great. You are feeling amazing. Are you flaunting your gray hairs and your wrinkles? I'm going to say right here, you freaking go. That is amazing because guess what? We all age and we should be proud of the body and the changes we go through, right? We go through a lot, but that's something to look forward to and not try to go in reverse. We're supposed to go forward. Let's embrace it because it's purely natural and how we are meant to be. Do you have a roof over your head, food in your stomach, and have the necessities covered? And you're doing great. Money will be made and lost again, and it can always be found again. Please know that you're doing great and you are enough, and what you're doing is enough because you are brilliant in your own right and you have something to offer into this world. It is your light, it is your smile, it is just being you because we are all unique and perfectly imperfect. And this is important why we really reframe the self image piece because we're talking about taking care of ourselves and putting our energy into places. And this is really about finding our authenticity, right? We talked about that in season 2. It is coming back in and doing this work and releasing all of that old energy, like all this excess energy that doesn't fuel us, right? Choosing to embrace the unicorn within will set you free from the abundant energy that you use to keep that old persona alive. This will help you align in the happier, calmer, more carefree you than you've ever felt before. And that's what thriving is. And the more I'm telling you from experience, the more I have done this, I have never, ever in my life received more compliments than I do now. And I'm not saying this to boast or to fuel my own ego in this, but it is just a frame of reference to show you that I get emails all the time from people saying, "Thank you for just being you. Thank you for putting yourself out there and talking about these things. Thank you for doing the work you do. Thank you for whatever it is, because the old me, that old persona that I used to create to fit in and everything else, this definitely wasn't part of it." But people see the difference. And when you embrace that part of yourself that puts you out in the light, that makes you look different, but that's when you fly. That is when you spread your wings and you've never felt better in your entire life. It is worth it. It is worth to ask yourself the questions. It is worth the healing work to do. And so I also want to throw a recommendation out there for you, especially going into these topics about embracing your imperfections. Go back. That was an episode I did back in season 1, episode 15. Please, if you'd like to go further in this, I am going to recommend you go back and listen to that episode. So, you beautiful, perfectly imperfect souls out there, you're doing great. You are enough. And until next time, be kind to yourself.
With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at abouthealingmedium.com. You can also follow About Healing Medium on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find the episode's healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask a question or to share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to reach me on Facebook and Instagram at About Healing Medium. Until next time, be kind to yourself.